Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, we're talking about one of the most brutal, unforgettable episodes of HBO's The Pacific, episode 6, the Peleliu Airfield. Folks, we got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about Peleliu and the battle and the strategic importance of it. And we're getting to get into this episode. It's very intense. So you're in for an interesting episode of the Pacific Theater coming up next. Hey, welcome back to Rob Ride 10X Pop Culture. And with me, as always, is Heather. Heather, how are you today? And you're muted.
Sorry, I had to mute because the dogs were barking, and now I left it on. I'm just behind the 8 ball today. But hey, doing great, Rob. Hey to everyone in the chat. Hope you guys are doing great too. And yeah, trying to get in the Christmas spirit a little bit. But yeah, otherwise doing good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess your dogs were just saying hello as well to everybody in the
They
chat,
were
right?
they wanted to say hi to everyone. They're excited.
Yeah.
Excited about the stream.
Oh yeah, should be a
Yeah,
good one. Want to say hi to SP4H, Lombardi 1969. I think 2104 Dog Faces in there as well. Anybody else who's in the chat, please pop in and say hi. Do want to take a moment real quick. 84 years ago, Pearl Harbor happened. And I want to just take a moment real quick in remembrance of that event. So many people lost their lives, not only airmen and naval and army and military personnel, but even civilians lost their lives in that great tragedy. Very much a turn in the United States in the war. And I wanted to take just a few moments to remember all those who lost their lives in that. And we're going to take just a few moments in silence real quick for that. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Pearl Harbor was very important, and we should always remember it. I want to give a plug. Couldn't get Marty on the show today. We were going to try and get him to talk about Pearl Harbor and Peleliu because, today is the 84th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, but he's not able to do the show today because he's giving a lecture in Tampa. But I do have a special program tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit late at 9 o'clock Central, where Marty's going to be on with myself. Heather may try and make it later on. She's got another engagement, but we're going to talk all about Pearl Harbor. We're going to give the history up until Pearl Harbor of the war. We're going to tell you what events led to Pearl Harbor, and we're going to talk about the details of the attack. Should be a really good show. So if you're around tomorrow evening at 9 o'clock Central, please join us for that. That should be a great show. If not, check it on the replay because it should be fantastic. And we've got a great show today for you because Peleliu, the Riders of the Pacific covered 3 episodes on it. We've already seen the first one where they kind of come in on the action of Peleliu and kind of get onto the island. And this one is the real intense part of it. So today's show is going to be a little bit interesting. We're going to give kind of the intro like we usually do and tell you where we are in the episode. But before we talk about the actual scenes of the episode, we're going to talk about the history of it and its strategic importance and maybe a little bit about the island that you may or may not know. It's really a lot more important than people realize. And, Heather, in reviewing this episode and looking at this, it's interesting, the history of it.
Yeah, really interesting. The just kind of in context of the whole war, what the strategic objectives were in that, and kind of a little bit of controversy over whether it needed to be taken or not, and just because of the high cost, the high loss of life, the high casualty rate there. So, yeah, pretty interesting, and not something that I had known a lot about before this. So.
Yeah, me either. Want to recognize a few people in the chat. Lombardi 1969 says, my dad spent 10 years, was almost 10 years old when Pearl Harbor took place. he had to translate for his parents what the English radio DJs were talking about. Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That is.
And then 2104 Dogface says, I'm only about 40 minutes away from 2 fully restored and flyable aircraft that survived the Pearl Harbor attack. Wow, that's really cool.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. The
Cool.
Curtis P-40B Tomahawk was saved by being in a hangar for repairs. So that's phenomenal. Wow.
Wow.
Very
That
cool.
is pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Heather, do you want to maybe go over the synopsis for this episode, and we'll get kind of the broad range of what's going on, and then we'll talk about Peleliu Island itself, and I'll bring up the slides.
Yeah, let me get that. So, episode 6, Peleliu Airfield, right, is the name.
Yep.
So, despite terrible heat and a lack of water, Eugene Sledge, Robert Leckie, and the other Marines attempt to capture the Peleliu Air. Is it Peleliu or Peleliu? Peleliu, I don't know.
Peleliu is what I've
I've
heard.
heard it
That's
pronounced a couple different ways, but I'll go with Peleliu. It seems to be easier. Leckie is wounded and evacuated, while Sledge witnesses the shocking truth about what is sometimes required to survive another day. The Battle of Peleliu continues as the Marines advance toward the airfield. It's only the second day of fighting on the island, but drinkable water is in short supply. The Japanese had poisoned the small quantities of water available on the island, and the heat is excruciating. They are under constant bombardment from Japanese artillery located in the Peleliu Hills, and the only way to force the Japanese to halt their bombardment is to seize their artillery positions altogether. However, in order to do that, they would have to cross the airfield, a vast open expanse.
yeah. So yeah, this episode, folks, this gets into Saving Private Ryan levels of just brutality in crossing this
Yeah.
airfield. And we're going to talk about it and everything else. But a couple of key characters that I mentioned that we're going to talk about. We get to see Sid again, obviously Leckie and Sledge. Snafu is really good in this. Are there any other standouts that you think besides those three?
Snafu is really growing on me. We only saw him kind of briefly starting, the last episode or two, but he, as we've kind of lost some of the characters that we started out with, he's kind of becoming a favorite of mine. Another one is Captain, I think it's Haldane or Halden,
Yeah.
maybe Halden. He's the commanding officer of K Company in the 5th Regiment. Also, RV, I think it's Bergen. He's another one who's good. He's a corporal with them. Jay DeLau is also a private serving with Sledge. Bill Layden, a Marine private with Sledge's company. Hillbilly Jones, who seems maybe kind of like a Ronald Spears type guy. Lieutenant Stone, who commanded Leckie's squad, first as a sergeant and then later becomes a lieutenant, and Runner, Bill Leckie's kind of longtime companion from the beginning of the series.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of good characters here, and some of them. This is kind of their final hurrah in the series, where we see them get wounded or some of them get killed. I mean, it's crazy. But let's talk a little bit more about Peleliu before we get into the actual story. So I'm going to bring some of our slides up here. So this is Peleliu right here. It's a small island, but basically you've got this set of islands right here that they had to kind of take. Peleliu and a couple islands. And the strategic importance of it is that there's an airfield in Peleliu that the Japanese had used significantly to really attack other areas of Asia when they were taking over parts of Asia, and they were using against the United States. The United States was able to bombard it, but here's the real gist of it. You had to take airfields and capture this in order to bring your bombers in, so the bombers would have an airfield to take off and land from, because obviously Heather bombers can't go off of aircraft carriers because they're too big. So that's part of it. what else about Peleliu did you learn about that was the reason why we needed to take it?
Well, yeah, kind of a stepping stone, right, to getting to the Philippines.
Hmm.
So in addition to being a bomber base, that's kind of a stepping stone, as they're getting there through all these islands. And also securing, MacArthur's flank, through the main, when as he's invading, right, through his path. They don't want the Japanese to have it and have an air base where they could then, kind of counterattack him. So, um, yeah, it's interesting. I've heard that it is a strategic point, and then I've also heard, that it was contested at the time whether they needed to take it or not, and then it got a little bit controversial just because of the heavy casualties and the loss of life. That wasn't really worth it to take it. So, it's interesting whether they actually needed that or not. I had heard some analyses saying they could have taken, all of their objectives without doing that. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then the other thing about it is that in those little islands they had a submarine base that Peleliu Island was kind of fortifying or protecting, which was strategic importance to take out that submarine base as well. So that was it. And then the other thing about Peleliu that was important is that it became at the airfield once we took it and got control of the airfield. It became an evacuation point for our wounded. So that
Ah,
was very important to be able to get our wounded out using that airfield. So,
yeah, and any airfield, I'm sure, has some importance, and
mhm.
just given the location of this, it's a pretty important strategic point. But, also too, what I thought was interesting that kind of affected the fighting, is that the island is all, like, coral, limestone, basically hard rock substance. There's not much soil or dirt. So, they couldn't dig foxholes, they were constantly exposed, and the Japanese, as, we see, have these tunnel and cave systems within the rocks, and that's part of what made it difficult. And also, when you're diving down to get cover, I guess they were constantly getting cut by the coral, and it would tear their clothes and
Mhm.
it cut their body, and which makes it even worse. And then when it would hit, anytime there was an explosion, it just made the shrapnel worse because there's all these pieces of coral that are in addition to what them being shot at. So yeah, it just so many things combined here to just make this kind of like a hellish nightmare.
Yeah, and then the other thing about it is that limestone and coral is not very good when it's hot outside. They're in a tropic area, so it's always relatively hot, and the humidity is even worse. But also with limestone and coral, that stuff kind of reflects and makes it even hotter. It doesn't have any cooling factor like soil would. It doesn't have anything like that. And you had dense jungles, mountainous terrain, and just rocky areas, and it just uh, guys, this just hearing about it was just one of those things that it's just the worst possible place that you could possibly try and attack just due to the terrain. And also we had heard about so we'd heard a little bit of a lecture on Marty talking about taking tours over there and that how the terrain is so tough that people have gotten injured in the caves, falling down on some of the rocks. Also, heat exhaustion is very important. And one of the key parts of this episode that we're going to learn about is the water supply. And going into this area, it may be at the time of the year where it's only 80 degrees, but with the humidity, you lose a lot of water weight without even knowing it because your sweat is just wickering off a lot faster than you might think. So the dehydration, and that was a real thing for these soldiers as well. So this is a very intense thing. And this map kind of shows you Peleliu right here, and then kind of it has a map right here for their sub base right north of it. So that was strategic to get that. So F Gauge C 2005 says, nope, try going through Detroit. That's dangerous. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Um,
This
Yeah.
is true. Yeah, downtown Detroit is not the most fun, kinda
Yeah.
fuzzy
And
fuzzy place.
yeah, and 2104 Dogface gives us some more information about some of the planes that he knows about. A 1933 Waco Owen by Bob Tice, who was a flight line and was killed by a round in the neck.
Mm.
Uh, his wife, a nurse, tried to save him. He was the first civilian killed on December 7th. Oh my goodness. So, and FKHC 2005 says, having lived in Guam for 3 years, they can say it's true. SP4H says, I drove through Detroit once during rush hour. Won't ever do it again. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine. I've heard there are all kinds of interesting places to not want to drive. And I
You don't
think it's
wanna
bad
take
in Dallas.
you don't wanna take a wrong turn in Detroit, even worse. I mean, every city has that, but Detroit probably, like, times 100 just because it's
Yeah.
yeah, not a lot of great stuff there.
Yep. All right, let's look at some more of these slides. So this is kind of a little bit about the invasion tactics, and found this online. I thought this is kind of cool where they came in, um, which is really cool. And here you can kind of see the terrain. So you see like a radar hill,
Yeah.
mountain areas, a boat dock. Um,
They really had underestimated the number of Japanese that were here on
oh
this,
yeah, absolutely.
right? And they really underestimated the type of resistance that they were gonna get.
Hmm.
Um, I know they thought the bombardment that they had done before would take care of a lot of it, but, I think the Japanese were really protected by being underground in the caves.
Hmm.
And they the Japanese had changed tactics by this point. They weren't really doing the bonsai attacks, so they just kinda set, in those nests and, um, were able to shoot them as they tried to cross the open ground. It's really, um yeah, it's really amazing how what they thought was gonna happen here was completely, they completely underestimated what the Japanese were gonna do here.
Yeah. And here's another map of Peleliu. And FKHC 2005 says his mom's father, was at Pearl Harbor about a week before December 7th. He was in the middle of the Pacific on his way to the Philippines when the
Wow.
attack happened. Oh, I wonder if he was on one of the carrier groups that was delivering airplanes to the Philippines. So that's part of that. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but interesting. But yeah, and here's some actual footage of Peleliu that I found. I don't know all the specifics of these pictures. I just looked up Peleliu and found some of the stuff. So, but yeah, you see the terrain here. Some aerial shots. It's amazing that we got kind of some of the shots that we got from World War II because this is one of the first wars where you did have a lot of active cameras and you can still have photos that are still
Mhm.
available today. So, and here's kind of last week when we saw them hitting the
Yeah,
beach.
on the beach.
Yeah. And camped in the jungle here. So I mean, it's got jungle, and then it leads up to coral and rock, and it's just daily terrain. And then here's kind of it today.
Oh, wow.
But you can see kind of the coral right there on the beach, right in here. Um, and there's an aerial shot.
Yeah, and I know people lived there right before the war, and the
Yeah.
Japanese just,
Mhm. Yeah.
relocated all those people when they came in.
Yeah.
Forcibly, right? Just said you're you're going.
Yeah. Um, FKHC 2005 said the ship made its way to Australia after the attack, and then um, so his dad was in our grandfather was in Australia, and then 2104 Dogface talks about Wake Island being another great topic. Yeah, we'll see what we can do about different topics. We definitely want to finish the Pacific and then get into Masters of the Air, but after that, we're going to be doing different battles and different movies. So yeah, if you guys got suggestions, yeah, we definitely would love to do that. But so here's more of it. Try to grab what I could.
Yeah.
I thought this was kind of cool.
Interesting.
A tank,
Wow.
and it's just yeah,
Wild. And they just left it there and
yeah,
over on its side and wow.
yeah. It's just kind of crazy. See some of this stuff, and I heard Marty and several other people that I heard that have visited these places are always finding all kinds of ammo and all different kinds of stuff on these islands. So, and you have to be careful because there are still some booby traps. So, me finding a live shell in Bastogne was nothing compared to this.
Like,
So,
don't just wander around, right, out there
yeah,
because, you
I
never
mean,
know. I'm sure with it so remote and not super populated, there's probably a ton of stuff that just laying around.
yeah, and there's a memorial. So, and this is one of the bunkers that we're talking about. Kind of crazy, thick jungle parts of it,
Mm,
and I think this is something overlooking kind of the
right.
rest of it. But interesting stuff. It makes me want to maybe go take one of those trips. I don't know if I'll do it this next year, but maybe
Yeah.
something after that. 2104 Dogface says had a reenacting buddy a few years back do Pacific Battlefield tours, and they had some crazy stories. Yeah, I've heard some crazy ones. Lombardi 1969 says, I would imagine that unexploded ordnance is still a big problem. Yeah. Apparently, the one that I saw that we got footage of was still there when Marty took another group another a week or so later. They hadn't removed it yet, but
Jeez.
yikes! I just sat there and I'm like, what on earth? I mean, this is an actual battlefield, and that's an
Yeah,
actual ordinance. I mean, you saw how intact that was.
yeah. You'd think they'd have a priority to, like, go make sure that that's removed.
Yeah, I don't know. And that area is not, I mean, they don't take a lot of people up there. A lot of tours miss that. So
Mhm.
interesting stuff.
Still, jeez.
But here's one of those personnel carriers
Right.
that we see. I mean, my goodness, look at the rust bucket it is, but that's interesting.
Wild.
Yeah. There's
More.
multiple ones.
Jeez.
Good
So
grief.
everyone left their stuff there. It's like, why bother trying to
Yeah.
find
I
it?
mean,
Just leave it there and
yeah, it's
wow.
crazy. I mean, it'd be cool to see, but I was just like, oh my goodness. So, and
Jeez.
then there's part of it like a torpedo.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty cool.
And some
Pretty
helmets.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that looks like where they were, kinda
Yeah,
up in that one area where they were trying to take it.
yeah, yeah. And
Interesting.
21 for Dark Face talks about a museum having that. And then FKHC 2005 says, I'm going to France in March. I'll be going to Verdun, where they say don't go off the path. Yeah, don't go off the path in some of those places, especially uh, there's a place in France, in northern France. We traveled through that area where you had the old battlefields from World War I, and those fields are bare because there's still ordnance in there, and they've had farmers that have hit stuff with their plow and exploded.
Oh,
So
god.
yeah, crazy stuff. So, and then there's the airfield. So crazy, but yeah, yeah. One of the caves. Some random person. I don't know who that is, but
That's pretty funny.
so.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I mean that's interesting. It's interesting that we're talking about Peleliu and all that stuff. But let's get into this and talk about the opening scenes. I thought it was interesting because you kind of start off with Steve Sledge's parents, and they're getting a visitor, and back then, oh, a man in uniform. And Heather, what was the concern about a stranger in uniform coming up to your door?
Oh, god. I mean, you can just see it here, the look of dread when he says, "Oh, it's a man in uniform," because you think you're gonna get news of, your son's been killed in action, right? Is the
Mhm.
dread there, and because why else would someone come up, in military come up to your door and, um, they don't need to say anything, you can see the look on his parents' faces. I thought that it's a really well acted scene there.
Oh yeah.
Just, but then, surprise, it's their buddy. Phillips, Sid Phillips, right?
Yeah, it's Sid. So actually Sledge was in the Marines in the Pacific, and he had a brother that was in the tank division in Europe. So they had two boys out there in the war. So that I can't imagine what they were going through
Yeah,
during that time. But
oh, the parents. I do think it's interesting, this scene, there's a YouTube show with, Sledge's son,
mhm,
where they talk about this show and go over the episodes, and he comments on it, and he said in this scene that they did a great job recreating his grandparents' house for the movie,
mhm.
that it actually looked, exactly like, like where their dining room is, and, even right down to some of the old pieces of furniture. I thought that was interesting, right? Because I can see like trying to be as accurate as possible on the battles, but a house that no one's ever going to really know except for the family. It's kind of a cool little detail that he said they were super accurate with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting how accurate they were with it. So it's really cool. And and Sid comes in and tells him he's good. He's with the toughest Marines, and then he talks about it. He's in the mortar group, and they're usually back from the fighting. But actually, from what I heard, it wasn't as far back as you might think, right?
Now,
No. So the mortars would be back, and they would do some action and be behind the lines and be shooting off their mortars. But a lot of times they were also asked to be infantrymen. I mean, you're doing double duty, and a lot of times they were still up on the front lines, still in the thick of things, and it wasn't like they were too far back. They were usually the second or third group to go,
yeah,
so it's not as safe as you might think.
they're right in it. But he's trying to put, his parents at ease a little bit, and,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, he's not gonna tell them how horrible, his experience was there. He's trying to make them feel better.
Yeah. And 2104 Dog Face gives us some more information. The same museum with the aircraft has the only type for Horo, a self-propelled 150 millimeter gun. There are only 12 ever made, captured at Luzon. Wow, that's cool.
Oh,
That is
interesting.
really interesting. Very cool. So, all right, then we shift to Peleliu, and it's interesting. We get Sledge here, and it's interesting. He's writing in his Bible, and we see him 105 to 115 degrees,
Yeah,
which
that's like the summers here, man, just brutal, and when you're not in the shade, ugh, there's, like, no cover, and they haven't had any water, that is, it's just miserable.
yep, you got Arizona heat for Heather and Texas heat for me, and
Yeah.
both are
Yours
brutal.
Yeah, yours is the humid one.
Yeah, mine's the human one. Yours is the dry one. I don't know which one is more bearable, but they're both hot.
In the sun, yeah, over 100 degrees in the sun is pretty unbearable no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, mortars were normally with the HQ PLT and didn't have to do patrols. Yeah, that's one thing. I will attest to that. Yeah, they didn't have to do patrols, but they did have to back up people with infantry. Um, yeah, Lombardi 1969 or FKHC 2005 says Lombardi 1969. I've been to Pearl Harbor and seen that. So very cool. But
Another, interesting note was that Sledge's son said is that he's been in talks with the Library of Congress to give them that Bible, to
yeah,
donate it. That's pretty cool too, that it's not, hasn't fallen by the wayside or not been sold by
yeah, which
someone.
is very cool. I'm so glad that I mean the family still has it,
Yeah,
and apparently he was saying that his mom thought it was very very important. Um, of course, the little notes are no longer there.
right,
Little piece of paper that he's writing on, but and
right.
it's interesting how Snafu gives him grief for that too.
Yeah.
And then we get a little bit of Leckie here before we start going down the battlefield. And I didn't get a whole lot of pictures there, but Leckie and Runner you get the sense of, hey guys, there's no water. Which, oh my goodness, I can't imagine what that was like without any water. So they're struggling to get some of that, and kind of almost a disgusting scene, but practical in a way because he goes looks through a dead marine's canteen to see if he's got any water,
Yeah.
which would surprise me, but that's kind of sad.
Well, and I would hope that they did that, unfortunately, hopefully that's what they were doing. Um, if you're that desperate, that that's just a horrible situation because, it's not like you can tough it out. Like after a certain point, your body's going to start to shut down in that heat if you don't have water. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people had dropped just of the dehydration. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, another thing I had heard about this was that the water um was put into gasoline barrels that hadn't been
Yes.
good,
Mhm.
and so it was completely contaminated, and the first guys to get water from it just got violently ill, and then they couldn't drink any of it, so they had no water supply basically, that had come with them, which is just unimaginable, and then this taking so much longer than what they had planned for,
Mhm.
um, they needed the time to get more water in, but, oh, awful conditions.
Yeah, I mean, it's just awful, and we saw them cleaning out those drums, and that was probably for what it was for, but even if you clean an oil drum to the teeth, you're still not gonna get gasoline out. I mean, it's just I
Yeah,
mean, oh, and then the most disgusting scene in here, I thought, was they find a watering hole, and it's still kinda whitish because of the limestone,
right.
um, and then they find that dead
Ugh, the dead, like a
yeah,
ram
skull. Yeah,
torn or
yeah.
yeah, God.
Yeah, and that's how they kinda
And,
discovered poison. I mean, I'm just like, "Oh my goodness." I mean, all this and then the Japanese had poisoned the water. I mean, oh
that's not surprising,
no,
right?
that's not surprising. That's
Water
actually
looks it looked nasty enough, right, with the
mhm,
limestone chalkiness, even though that's
yeah,
probably not, that bad, but just, the fact that it was poison, and I would have checked anyway. I mean, you don't know when it's so discolored if there's dead animals or something in there, if it's diseased. I mean, I I don't know that I would have trained and trusted it anyway. It looked pretty bad.
yeah. And so, we get, the preparing to cross the airfield here at this point. There's a little bit of water left, like 1 sip for each guy, and they're passing it around. Leckie's unit didn't have much water at all. Snafu gives Sledge a cig to kind of calm his nerves. Apparently, at that time, they didn't know smoking was bad for you, so that's why we see a lot of cigarette smoking in this.
Yeah, that
And
was pretty common back then, but, Sledge the funny thing is Sledge did not smoke until Peleliu, and he was smoking by the end of the first day.
yeah,
Like, he didn't smoke it out and didn't smoke after the war either. Uh,
yeah,
but this was, I can't blame you in this kind of situation, just, might as well.
calm the nerves, I guess. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd want something hot in my mouth if it's dry already and I can't get any water.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it's a drug and it's giving you a little hit, right? A
yeah, I
nicotine hit.
guess
It's giving you
nicotine. Yeah,
it's making you feel better when you're probably thirsty and starving and hot.
yeah.
It's thing that's giving you a little kinda dopamine hit there to get you through.
Yeah, and we see the planes flying over as the first unit moves out, bombing raids, but it's still not enough because the Japanese are so entrenched. And
Mm.
we see kind of the Japanese encampment, and they're really ready to fire. The problem is that folks they had to take this airfield, and there's no cover on this island. You see this, and you could see this limestone. There's not really anywhere to dig in or do anything. The only cover is ruined out stuff. So you just basically got to make a run for it to be able to take everything. And the Japanese already have kind of the high ground. So it's just that's why this is so brutal, and that's why we went over the terrain because it just gives you the element of how brutal it is. And here's kind of a I love this shot. This gives you an idea of what it was like.
Wow.
I
So
mean, it's just crazy.
yeah, and every hit just sent, like, the exploding rock and coral everywhere too. Just
Yeah.
I can't imagine like what it takes to force yourself to just run forward into that. Like whatever you have to find in yourself to just force yourself to do that is just God, I can't even imagine how
Yeah,
awful
it's
that would
crazy.
be, how horrible that is.
Yeah, I mean,
God.
uh yeah, Marines issued halazone tablets that were used for water purification. Yeah, I think they were because we see that later on when they get past the airfield, these tablets. So yeah, Lombardi 1969, yes. And the 2104 Dogface says recently learned about a French historian who in 2017 got caught stealing dog tags of killed in actions and other items from the National Archives and selling them to collectors and museum holding five. That's awful.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's terrible, man. People, like, come on, people. Don't do stuff like that. Jeez.
yeah. So, but yeah, guys, the crossing was brutal, and you've seen some of these pictures here, and they finally make it. You know, they're under cover of like a jeep, and we've got two photos back to back. But you know, they're taking cover. Sledge moves out, and then we see Leckie's kind of move, and it kind of goes back and forth between the two, and they're just getting hit hard. I mean, the action right here only just goes a little bit in showing how brutal it is. I mean, a lot of these, honestly, Heather, I almost compare it a little bit with the first scenes of Saving Private Ryan, don't you?
Yeah, and I even thought last week's episode where they're, trying to take the beach was a lot
Mhm.
like Saving Private Ryan because they're also it's the same type of situation where they're trying to get out, establish themselves on the beach, and they're taking a lot of heavy fire from the Japanese who are entrenched there. But this like takes it up a notch. It's even worse. There's like such a long distance that they have to go
Mhm.
to cross this just open area, open rock to get to this to get past the airfield, and then the with the Japanese just entrenched in these buildings and in higher positions and in little holes and to just fire on them, and it just looks like, I mean, it is just a hellscape. It would just be terrifying trying to run and the guys like getting hit, the gruesome injuries and I yeah, it just this to me, this really takes it up a notch. I mean, they did a great job with this episode again because it is, a lot like that scene. I feel like this is almost more realistic than the Saving Private Ryan in intro.
Yeah, it is, and we see a sniper taking some guys out, and the funny thing is that, you know, you when you think of sniper, you think of the high ground. Well, this sniper was like in one of the things underneath the ground, where he just pops up with the one little hut, you know? And it's crazy
Oh,
how the sniper takes some guys out, and then Runner gets hit, and Leckie has to pull Runner to safety, you know?
yeah, that was and there was a part I can't remember if it was when they were crossing or a little bit later when they're running and they think they're in the clear and they've passed one of those little dug-in holes and the guy's, like, shooting him in the back because he's
Yeah.
in, like, an entrenched position. Then he starts shooting him in the back, and they have to turn around and I mean, they get him. One of them gets him pretty quickly, but not before he does some damage, in the other direction. It's just like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, and we see one of the mortar guys in Sledge's group gets hit. We even see Snafu coming up here where he gets hit a little bit, but it goes back to Leckie and Runner gets hit, and they're in a little bit of a shelter for the moment, but they're still in a crossfire. So Leckie's commander tells him, "Hey, run back and go get a corpsman and get a radio guy." And so Lucky Lucky just crossed this airfield one direction. Now he's got to go back.
I know. They're like,
I
"Dude,
can't
no,
imagine that.
no, no." Yeah, that was a horrible scene too with the guy talking on the radio, and he's trying to talk, and the blood's just coming up, and he continues to try to talk. It's just
Oh gosh.
oh
Yeah,
god,
yeah. It's just like,
yeah.
oh my goodness. And so he gives Lucky an extra machine gun. Like that's gonna do a whole lot of good at this point.
Right, I
Um,
mean, you're just trying not to get hit. Not
yeah.
it's not like you can you can do much. I mean, I guess all you can do is hope that a lot of it's been cleared out, but it isn't. I mean, there's still people running, there's still heavy fire. It just, ugh,
Yeah.
man.
And we're gonna focus on Leckie for a minute here, real quick. There it goes back and forth to Sledge and Leckie, but I want to continue with Leckie. So Leckie starts making the run, and Heather, he finds a radio guy, but the radio guy kind of just tells him off, right?
Yeah, he's just like, nope, sorry. And I don't know. I mean, this was just like chaos, and he's kind of like, I don't know. It seems so chaotic, this whole scene where he's running back, trying to get him before he gets hit himself. I just, I don't know. I, I can't believe I would just be like, I don't blame the radio guy. I'd just be like, nope, sorry. I'm not
Well,
doing
and the radio guy wasn't able to get through to anything. He was like, "We
this.
can't get through to anybody,"
Right.
you know?
Yeah, there's no point to this anyway. But didn't it just look like just chaos? It
Oh,
just
yeah, it was. And and he finally finds the corpsman, and he sees the corpsman going off the other direction, and so he's trying to run down the corpsman, and then boom.
yeah, it just takes a hit. But he's seeing people get hit all around him too, which is the
Yeah.
crazy thing. And then finally he gets hit. I'm just like, I don't know. That thing, that run back seemed kind of pointless. I mean, I know you're trying to get the guy, you need to get more communication, you need to get the other guy help, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if that was a good plan to run back. It didn't seem like it.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And then Wallace Lang, glad you're here, Wallace. He says that
Hey, well,
the total insanity of war brings out both the best and worst in people. Yeah, I could agree to that. It's
yeah.
crazy. Um, yeah. And then Lombardi 1969 is talking about kamikaze pilots. And, we'll get into that at some point because my grandfather was in the Battle of Leyte Gulf. And there's a picture of him taking off in his plane. And behind him is a kamikaze pilot hitting the aircraft carrier that he just flew off of. So kind of crazy stuff. So,
No.
um, yeah, it's interesting the intensity of these battles, but yeah, Leckie just makes this run and it's just crazy. And then we get back to Sledge's team, um, and they're pinned down, and you've got the underground sniper that we talked about, and then Snafu apparently gets hit, but it's not as bad as at first you thought, and Sledge goes back to him and kind of gets him up and says, "Hey, you're all right. You're all right." And they get him out of the way. And it's interesting because Snafu lost his helmet, and they're running back, and he grabs his helmet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"There's no way I'd be on that field without a helmet. That'd be the first thing I'd try to grab."
Yeah, but then you see the other guy, like, get hit, like, right through the helmet, just takes
Yeah,
a
you're just like,
nasty one.
yeah. I'm just
That
like,
was
oh
rough.
well, I guess it doesn't matter.
I mean, still, I guess with all the shrapnel, it's better than nothing, but, yeah, I think Snafu got hit by, like, a piece of metal or shrapnel or something, and it just like, his part of his uniform stopped it or belt or so it hit something. So I think he didn't get, like, hurt, like, severely wounded with that.
Yep, and apparently, in that video where Sledge's son is there, he said that his dad just grabbed the piece of shrapnel and it was hot, and I don't know why he picked it up and put it in his pack, but okay, I wouldn't be thinking about the shrapnel or anything like that at that point. I'd be like, get my
Right.
butt to
Yeah,
cover.
right.
Yeah, so
Oh, man.
but it's crazy. And they eventually get to the point where they're attacking the building and they had mortars go and they even had this guy with a bazooka go and knock it out.
Yeah, the
Uh,
bazooka seems to be pretty effective
yeah,
at those positions where they're entrenched like that.
yeah. But it's crazy because you see, that they're having to do some hand-to-hand combat to take out this building and this airfield where the Japanese just had him pinned down.
Yeah,
Um,
just hole to hole, really. I mean, they it got
yeah,
much effective once they had the bazooka and the mortars going,
Mhm.
but, yeah, when they're all in those holes and they come up on them, it's just like, yeah, a lot of hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was unbelievable. To go from one to the other, like, all of a sudden, someone's right up on you, and you have to fight, like, the guy one was actually with a knife, he killed him with a knife, and
Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy. I'm just like, "Oh my goodness," a lot of crazy hand-to-hand combat, and we saw some of that in Band of Brothers, but I don't think it was as intense as we see it here, you know? Very, very, very
Bazooka Joe.
Bazooka Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
yep,
Um, so they finally take that and they have a little bit of rest. There's still no water. And they're re-upping their ammo, and then as we saw those armor personnel carriers come in, um, it was kind of interesting. I love this scene coming up where you've got the armor personnel carriers like, hey, which way to this unit? And they're like, wait a minute, you're not leaving until our wounded.
yeah, I love this scene too, like, right, because they come up and they're like, "Yeah, you take our wounded," and they're like, "Nope, sorry," and, I think it's Captain, Haldane or Haldane, what how I don't know how to say his
Yeah.
last name, but, yeah, he just walks out and stands right in front of the tank so they can't drive, forward, and then someone else gets up there like, "Ding, ding, ding," knock on the door with the gun, it's like, "Hey, you're taking our wounded."
Yeah, and at first the guy that pops out of the thing gives him the number one salute. Um,
Right?
I almost wanted to laugh at that point. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that was good. It's a funny scene. I like that. I wonder if it really happened like that. I mean, I know that um the captain was someone really respected amongst the men,
Mhm.
kind of like a Winters type, and so I can see him doing things like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so they get the wounded out of there, and I thought it was a great scene. It was really really kind of cool. But we have nightfall, and they're kind of quiet. Things are quiet, and Daniels is one of the characters that's digging through dog tags, and at first Gunny, who's the sergeant in charge, is trying to get him to go on a patrol, but the captain recognizes that he's got a little bit of PTSD,
Yeah,
and it's like, no, hey, we need to get him out of here and get him away from the
yep.
stuff. And Sledge kind of realizes that, oh my goodness, that could be me too, which is kind of interesting.
How do
um
you not have like severe PTSD after this happened? I mean, I could see like a lot of people would just kind of be in shock. And so you just be kinda, like, going through the motions, and
mhm.
then there's the people who just kinda freak out, um, that almost like a nervous breakdown, but I imagine everyone has PTSD, it's just kind of how that person is dealing with it or how it expresses with them and that, every individual person, because that was just crazy. I mean,
Oh yeah, and we're starting to see a couple of different levels of it here in the show, and we're gonna get to another scene that's even more intense on here. But Sledge admits to the captain that he was scared, and I think this is an interesting scene because he's also complimented on how he handled himself, but he says that hey, I was scared, and really he's reassurance that hey, we're all scared. It's
right,
just how we handle it, how we face it, and
right,
I like the fact that they talk about this because you see a lot of movies even from that era that don't show that side of the human fragility of the side of war where it's all rah rah, and it's not all rah rah. It's a scary thing.
right. And to me, I mean, this is it's much they're much braver when you realize how terrifying it is, right? I mean, to be
Mhm.
scared and to have it be awful and do it anyway, right? And like face it anyway and run across that airfield regardless of how terrified you are. To me, that makes them seem so much braver than people who are just kind of foolishly like, yeah, let's get them. It just makes it more realistic, makes it more human.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we see that basically, so they've gotten the airfield, they've gotten that part, but really the Japanese are back up in the hills, and you got to clear out the hills because they're still firing down on the airfield from those hills. So now they start marching out toward the hills, and Snafu kind of warms up the sledge here, and I thought it was kind of interesting. What does he do here? He gives him a nickname, right?
Yeah, the sledgehammer. I thought that was cute. I really like Snafu and his how they're focusing on him a little more now and showing more
Mhm.
of his personality. He's definitely growing on me, and I love the nickname Sledgehammer. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was interesting. Apparently, he apparently I've read somewhere where he may have gotten the nickname in training. His son said that he doesn't know where he got the nickname, that he was always called Sledgehammer. But I like this scene. I thought it was kind of cool that
Yeah,
Snafu gives it to him, and
yeah,
there's a little bit more respect between the two, and I thought that was good.
yep,
Here's the picture of Snafu.
yep.
Um,
Because now he's not just the new guy, right? He's not just the new
yeah,
kid with no experience after they've gone through that together.
yeah. And here's some more scenes of the thing, and then here's the scene where Snafu gives him the nickname, and then one of the other guys, "Hey, I didn't get a nickname. Oh, we got a nickname for you too, little bear." You know.
Yeah, that was cool. I thought another really good scene that we kinda just touched on it was earlier when they were all sharing the water and the one
Yeah.
guy offers it up and they all take just a really small drink. I mean, that kinda was a good way to show their camaraderie for each other. I thought that was a nice scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool. A lot of cool scenes here. Um, and basically, I don't have a whole lot of the clearing the terrain, but they get up there and it's interesting because they have to go up and clear the terrain, and you come to find out that they were kind of almost guinea pigs up there, just trying to find out where the main Japanese forces were. But we saw on this, I can't describe it. It's like rocky terrain with very little to no cover, and so you're going around like a rock face, and boom, that's where the Japanese are, right across like a clearing, and you barely can duck down back around, and I was just kind of crazy. I mean, um, they open up, and I was just surprised more guys didn't get hit or killed in
Yeah.
there. But I mean, and you see kind of where the Japanese positions is a rock face, and they've got fortified areas, and you're just like, oh my goodness, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd be like trying to climb, a mountain and they're up staggered above you. I mean, there's no
mhm.
way that you can take that without I mean, good for the captain saying this would be, too heavy of losses or impossible and he's gonna go back and get the orders changed.
Yeah, so they go back, they regroup, and the captain's realizing, hey, this is not a good idea. It's really rough terrain. It's going to put our men in danger. And captain has to go back and report, and Gunny's in charge. And we kind of see him, and it's interesting that they brought dogs with them.
Yeah, that was odd. I didn't know that. I mean, I guess, but
Yeah,
to sense the Japanese coming sooner, but I mean, that seemed odd to me.
yeah, that was odd. And Gunny's like, well, I don't know if a dog's going to be able to sniff out a Japanese faster than I. It was interesting.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah. So, and then, it's overnight, and one soldier just goes hysterical,
That's
and it's interesting, you know,
disturbing.
very disturbing. And he's going crazy, and they tackle him, try to get a hold of him. So the whole thing is, they're still in an area where they're potentially surrounded by Japanese, and they don't quite know where they are. They know they're like over the hill and around, but there could be other areas around you. So, Gunny's telling them, "Hey, keep your ammo loaded, keep ready, keep watch." And then this guy starts going to hysterics, and the problem is not so much just the hysterics, but he's loud.
Mhm.
And the problem here is that um, he's going to give away their position, and they could all be killed.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if they've got dogs there trying to like, the idea was we need to advance warning of
Yeah.
the Japanese coming, it's night, like, you certainly don't want to give away your position because that's sort of an equalizer, right? That it's dark and you're in the rocks too, and they don't know exactly where you are, so yeah, and unfortunately, they try to sedate him first. They try to, like, punch him, knock him out, and couldn't
Hmm.
do it, and probably just had way too much adrenaline going at the time, and they're actually trying to hit him and knock him out, and, just with the once they get, I think, a shovel and get the edge of it, unfortunately, they end up killing him. I mean, that was not the intent at first, but they gotta get him to quiet down, and after trying multiple things, unfortunately, they end up killing him with the shovel, which is pretty sad because I think it was, a guy who was actually one of his friends.
Yeah. And Sledge basically says better him than the whole unit. And
Yeah,
Snafu goes, Sledgehammer's right.
yeah. Well, they didn't have any choice,
Yeah.
but man,
Yeah.
that was a rough one for sure.
Yeah. And so the captain returns. They get a tank, which is good, to help reinforce them. And one good thing is it begins to rain. So, and
Yeah,
that helps.
yeah,
So hopefully they're collecting a lot of water in their canteens.
yeah,
So, but but yeah, that's where Sledge is. And next week we're going, or next time we'll see more the last set of Peleliu, and the retaking of these hills. But we get back to Leckie and he's on the boat, and his nickname Peaches.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep, and Runner, we see Runner is alive, which was
Yeah,
great. It was great seeing him come into the sea to be like, "Yeah, I ate peaches." That was
yeah,
perfect. Are you gonna waste those peaches? Uh,
yeah.
that was cute.
Yeah, and then he basically feels bad because he was going to get Runner or Corman, and then got hit, and Runner kind of consoles him, and hey, you want to go get some coffee? No, I want to go back upstairs and get some fresh air, and they're on the deck of this medical freighter, and I love the shot. I wish I could have gotten it here, but the medical freighter's looking over
Yeah.
the rest of the battlefield. And it's kind of almost your Empire Strikes Back moment at the end, where
Mhm.
they're looking out of a medical freighter at what's going on the island. And
Yeah, I thought it was cool too. I know it's a lot of CGI, with the ships, but it's
Mhm,
really cool shot it from when they first come into the medical ship where you can kinda
mhm.
see the scope of the Navy's operations there. And then, yeah, as they're sitting there and seeing the battle and all the bombardment of the island, it was a really cool shot there. I like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, yeah, that's the end of this episode. I thought overall, Heather, I thought this was one of the better episodes of the show. I thought it was very intense, but it was very on point.
I agree. This was I think last week, when or not last week, but the last episode we did that one. I think that had been my favorite up to this point, and I think this one is now my favorite. This series overall, it started kind of slow. It had some weird scenes, but I think it's really picked up the pace. Like the quality is picked up, the
Mhm.
actions picked up, the quality of the way the battle scenes are filmed has picked up. Um, and I don't know, I probably because there's more action. Not that there wasn't in the first couple, but I feel like, we've gotten to know, some of the characters that we first started with a lot better, and now that it's kinda narrowed down, we get some of the peripheral characters, we're getting a little more of them, and it's just been very realistic, I mean, hard to watch realistic, but it's been really, really good quality. I think this is I'm happy now, and I think this is a really good series. These past few episodes have really changed my opinion of the series because I thought the first couple were kinda good, but then it kinda fell off a little bit, and,
Yeah.
the last 2, though, have just been excellent. So, I
I
really
agree 100%. And I think it helped also seeing some of this stuff in daylight and daylight attacks to
Yes.
where you can tell what's going on.
Mhm.
I thought, the first couple episodes were good, but you didn't really get to see the action or really get the full brunt of the bonsai charges because you could barely see what's going on. It's so dark.
Yeah.
And I get the realism that they're going for, but I think you got to be able to see to really tell something visually.
Yeah, dark is not a good realism, and I don't know when that trend started. This was kinda early for that. I mean, now everything's, like seems like it's freaking pitch black and you can't see anything, but it used to be movies at night, they were still plenty bright enough to see everything that happened. You were never like, "Oh my god, it's too dark to see," and, like, we understand that it's dark at night and it's hard to
Mhm.
see. You don't need to film it so pitch black that we can't see what's happening. Like, I don't understand why, like, as years went on, they feel like they have to make it so dark at night scenes that you can't see it. It's just bizarre to me. Like, we don't know. We know it's dark, but we still have to see the scene.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, hey, you can use filters to show that it's dark and shoot in daylight without having to give us pitch black dark. We want to be able to see our characters and we want to be able to see what's going on. I mean, I don't want to be able to see just an inch of the hand on the machine gun and then you see the fire of the machine gun and then you see nothing that they're hitting or shooting at. Um,
Hey, SP4H says, "Oh, come on, seeing is overrated." Well, SP4H, at the type of places maybe you frequent, maybe seeing might be overrated, especially at closing time. I don't know. But some of us, we kind of like to see what's going on.
yeah,
Just
absolutely.
giving you a hard time.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, we talked about Peleliu and the airfield here, and the strategic area of that. The other aspect of this, guys, is that taking this, um, if you don't take it and you skip over it, go to the Philippines, you're opening yourself to attacks from the other way, and it's
Mhm.
just they're having to take these airfields so the Japanese cannot use them, and so we can use them for our bombers. And so this one is a key one. And then they eventually take out, the sub base that's right over behind it. And we're able to use the bombers on torpedo runs and bombing runs into the Philippines and into Japan. And it really, one of the things that about this war that's interesting is that setting stuff up for the U.S. to become not only the most powerful Navy, but also naval aviation is just huge here. And it's just so important. And that's why they had to take these one at a time going back through to attack the Japanese. And also you're cutting off their oil supply. So we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow, but like this is cutting into the Japanese ability to get fuel and oil from this part of the world that they had secured before. So
Mhm.
very much
Yeah.
so.
No, it's interesting, all these the island hopping campaign. Um, every time is like a new invasion.
Mhm.
And I hadn't really thought about it until we started watching this. But yeah, these are really tough, really tough scenes.
Yeah, and it makes me appreciate what that generation did and what they did back then, and just how
Right.
important it is for us to learn and understand the military tactics, the sacrifice, and everything that they did in that generation makes me appreciate it even more. Almost makes me wish I could still talk to my grandfathers about this. Um, it's kind of a little bit of a regret, but I'm glad I'm learning about it now and having a better appreciation for them in that generation. You
Yeah.
know,
I feel like we've just always, for me, had more information about the war in Europe. And
yeah.
I've seen a lot of movies about the wars in Europe, and, it's just much more familiar to me than what happened in the Pacific, other than Pearl Harbor. We see a lot about that attack, but then we don't really see the campaign in the Pacific, at least I haven't. I feel like
Mm-mm.
I've just seen far more, of what happened in Europe.
Yeah, me too. And it's interesting. And it's interesting the different sides of the war and the different aspects of it. Studying it over the last year with you, Heather, and with just all the stuff has opened my eyes to just how global it is, and how important it is to understand what happened, and how we kind of learn from it, and move on. And we see in our world today, without getting any kind of political or social type stuff, how much one part of the world can really influence another part, you know.
Yeah, and actions you don't really think about can set off a chain of events that end up like this, and it
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. So, 2104 Dogface has something interesting that he wants to share with us. That at some point this month, I'm going to do a talk on Project Past, history YouTube channel on the King Phillips War, and have to set dates with James still. That's awesome. Yeah, let us know so we
Yeah.
can kind of link your channel and link that up.
Yeah,
Because
let
that's
us
interesting. I
know.
don't know enough about that war that was a prelude to French and Indian War and stuff. So always
Yeah,
interested in
definitely, yeah, message or leave a message on the site so we can see when that is and check it out.
absolutely. All right, Heather, what do we got coming up this week?
What do we have coming up this week? I believe we have a pop culture breakdown on Wednesday.
Hmm.
The movie is The Santa Claus, which I have never seen.
You've never seen it? Oh, you're in for a treat. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. That'll be fun. A fun way to get in the Christmas spirit. And I'm sure we'll talk about like other, horrible pop culture topics too. And then what? And of course, Friday Night Frolics. Always love to see you guys come hang out in the chat with that.
Yeah, those are on Overlord DVD's channel.
That's right.
Yeah, he's got a great thing. And Pop Culture Breakdown is at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, and Friday Night Frolics is at 7:30 on Friday on Overlord DVD channel. Those are Central Time Zone times, so adjust accordingly. Seven o'clock Central on Wednesday and 7:30 Central on Friday. It's always great shows because Pop Culture Breakdown, we talk about modern stuff, and I'm sure we're going to get into Warner Brothers being potentially bought by Netflix.
I
Uh,
thought Trump nixed it.
yeah,
It's
I
on the
heard it got nixed, so we'll probably get into that. And then, oh my goodness, Heather, I don't know if you've seen the Star Trek video for that new series.
oh more Academy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, they released a scene, so
The
we'll talk about that one.
that poster is
Oh,
just
it's
like,
cringe. Yeah.
oh god. What I swear, I think they there's like a teen show, like a One Tree Hill or 90210 or one of those.
Mhm.
It has a poster positioned exactly like that, where they're all like kids laying there or teenagers. And I think they just like superimposed their, made up supposed Star Trek characters. I think they CGI'd them onto the
Oh
teen
my
bodies
goodness.
from the other teen drama show. It looks so god awful. It looks
Oh
like
my
a joke. It looks like someone did it as a joke, honestly. It just
yeah.
ridiculous.
So we'll get into that. We'll get into other pop culture stuff. Coming off my channel. Hey guys, tomorrow night's gonna be special. Um, I've got Bible study to 8:30. That's why this is gonna happen at 9 o'clock Central. But if you guys can't make it, catch the replay. But Marty Morgan will be here. He'll be back. Thank goodness. He's so great. He is one of the best historians I've ever talked to. He's gonna be on the channel, and we're gonna be talking about Pearl Harbor. So we couldn't get him tonight, but we're getting him tomorrow. And we're going to go into the background of World War II, 1939 to 1941. We'll give you an update of where we were in the war, what happened with Japan and China, what led to U.S. isolationism, what led to U.S. doing oil embargoes on Japan, what led to Japan wanting to attack Pearl Harbor in the first place. We're going to talk in detail about the waves that came in at Pearl Harbor and how it got attacked. What happened? We've got photos from the actual Pearl Harbor. I've got pictures from when I visited Pearl Harbor. Hopefully, I can dig up the ones from the helicopter. If I can find those are the coolest ones because you can still see the oil slick. This is back in 2009 when I visited. And folks, if you go to Oahu, if you get a chance to get on the helicopter ride, that is the coolest thing because flying over Oahu and getting to look down upon it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I was shotgun in the helicopter, which was even cooler because I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all about that. And so come and join us. if you got questions about Pearl Harbor or any questions about World War II, Marty is phenomenal. So
Yeah.
he will answer questions from the chat. He'll answer my questions. We're going to talk a lot about it. It should be a great show. And then next weekend, I'm not going to be on because I've got family stuff going on. But in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about Christmas songs, and we'll talk about Christmas songs, Christmas movies. We'll do it'll be our a list of a top 50 Christmas songs, and we'll talk about those songs, and we'll also try and entertain you guys with stuff about Christmas. And then in a few weeks after that, I'll be doing some Christmas specials on the channel as we head in this new year. And this new year is going to be fun. We'll finish up the Pacific. We'll do Masters of the Air, and then we'll get into World War II movies and shows. That'll be pretty cool. So, folks, stay tuned for that. So, folks, please leave a like, subscribe, leave comments on this for the replay. Still need the watch hours. I'm still dragging. I'm still about 1,500 short. I've had some drop off from last year, but we'll need some of your help.
So now they're taking hours away? That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Well, the big one that I had, the Grinch I did last year, that had over 4,000 views, and that dropped off. So it's
you have to have the views or the hours within 1 year?
Yeah, within 1 year. You have to get 3,000 views, 3,000 hours within 1 year.
Jeez.
It's crazy. So, folks, any help that you can give me, I'm all for it. Please do. Please like, subscribe, leave comments, because that helps. So, but
wow. Well, that'll be a great show with Marty for sure.
Oh yeah, it will be. And Heather, if you can make it, I know you've got something going on tomorrow night, but if you can make it, we'd love to have you jump on too. So,
cool.
You got any questions for him? But folks, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching on the replay, thank you for watching. Leave your comments. Tell me what you know about World War II. Tell me what you know. Thank you so much to our veterans. We want to especially thank you, and thank you for your input. We love hearing the war stories and the information you've got about family members and things you've learned about World War II. Heather and I are not historians. We just love this material, and we love history, and that's why we like to bring it to you. So anyway, folks, until the next one, take care, and we'll see you on the next one, folks.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.